Welcome back to Trauma Teachers. This is Aaron, along with Patrick. As always, it's been 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely our longest break, but those of you thought you weren't going to have to listen anymore.
Fool on you.
We're
back.
We're in the new studio.
Yeah, new studio. Looks real nice. And
it does. It's brick by brick, as they say. It's coming together
it's
a little
coming
bit.
along.
Yeah, but it's good to be back, man.
Yeah, man. It's starting to feel like out of sorts without it, man.
I know, yeah. It's so I guess we can talk about it. We're going through kind of a transition, first of all.
Yeah.
Aaron, congrats on your new job.
Yeah, so I'm transitioning out of the position I was into. It's a lateral move, I guess. Same position, different program. So there's some sadness to that, but also some joy. So there's that transition.
Right.
We've officially transitioned out of
The building.
the buildings. We're out of the brick and builders. We're officially into the module. What are they?
The learning module.
Learning modules. We're in the learning modules.
It's a double wide trailer. But I think it will actually help our podcast because now we have different, like you'll be talking about the stuff you're doing at your job.
Yeah.
I'm talking about stuff I'm doing.
And we can coordinate.
And we can lie. Because we'll have no way to know if the story's actually happened.
Right. My highlights are going to be fantastic.
Right, yeah. I got to save this kid's life. It was unbelievable.
He was up a tree.
Yeah. I just climbed right up there talking about it. Yeah. So I'm not going to get their mistakes because who knows?
It was a month ago.
Yeah. So struggle of the week. Mine is as we've talked about, like our kids are kind of not the same. Well, they're the same as they were our last episode. We're still getting a lot of the mental illness stuff.
Yeah.
Less, which is good, less behaviors, but not as good when, we're obviously not therapists. So when you see maybe something a kid's written that is disturbing or they say something disturbing, my struggle is just like how to come back to that.
Yeah.
Like how to address it, because you don't want to ever judge our kids.
Yeah.
But you have to address it, and you don't want to upset them unnecessarily before they can talk to their therapist. So kind of just navigating that has been a struggle for me so far this year.
I agree. It's always a tricky spot to be in because you want to maintain those relationships that you're building, but at the same time you have to kind of set those boundaries, which is always a tough place to be because the kids know that kind of happens, but it's always even without our population, just kids in general, just as they're going through the development stages, it's just setting boundaries is always tough for them to kind of hear and deal with, and it's always hard to navigate that when they're
and I guess I was gonna say the only advice I have with that is like today this kid wrote a note and he wanted me to print it out for him. There's some very disturbing stuff in it, and I gave it to his therapist, and just like being honest with the kids about that stuff, like, hey, you're not gonna get in trouble for this, but I can't just give you that because of the content. Like I have to let your therapist read it because that's like something that can definitely damage a relationship.
Absolutely. Like they have I think I agree because I almost had a similar situation this morning where it's where a kid had a notebook taken that had some back and forth going on in it, and you're 100% right. Like the most you can do is tell them like, hey, I can't guarantee that you're gonna get that back, or but somebody's gonna have to take a look at that. Somebody's gonna have to have eyes on that. I'm not sure what it's gonna be, so you're absolutely right. Just giving them up front and letting them know up front. I mean, they may not like it, but I think we've said it before. Like they can respect the honesty and the truth.
Our kids are they will get very mad initially, but our kids, if you're honest with them, they're usually like, I get it. Yeah. I know why you had to do that. And Craig used that great example when he was on our show. Everyone listens to Craig and them. What a podcast.
What a podcast.
I need to catch up. I might do it tonight on the night shift. But yeah, Craig's got a great podcast going. So he gave that example of the kid who was interested in Satanism. Mm-hmm. And Craig's a very religious man, but like you can't, like with our kids, you can't say, we don't know what they're seeing, first of all, mental illness, what they're feeling. And second of all, telling them it's stupid or it's wrong. It's wrong. That's what they've heard their whole life. You need to at least let them know you care about them, and then also let them know that you're going to have some steps from you have to take to like stay safe and all that.
Yeah. I mean, and as you're honest, I mean, it's going to be hard for them to understand at first because they may or may not be used to that. But like I said, they'll come to respect it because they know that if they can ask you a question and they know that you're going to tell them the truth. Good, bad, or ugly, whatever that may look like, it helps because they understand like, okay, Patrick's not going to lie to me.
Right.
My struggle of the week has been, the days and times that we're in It hasn't boded well for some of our kids, in the fact that there are some that aren't just making the progress that we would like to see. It's an unfortunate situation that does happen. Kids tend to get stuck or stagnant in their treatment, and like I said, with the way things that are now, there isn't a whole lot going on in the world for them to do. They don't have outings, at least for school. In school, and we're still self-contained, and we're they're still affected by some of the outside things that are happening.
Right, and I think not like getting to visit wherever their next placement might be, or having that as much in-person contact with their caretakers, it obviously would make it harder to see like the light at the end of the tunnel if those things aren't happening. So yeah, we do have a lot of kids right now that are just kind of stuck. Yeah,
and it's those are the times, and some of those kids where you really have to dig in your bag of tricks of trying to find motivation for them, because some, even if they just don't have it, they are stuck, or maybe they've just been in the program long, or like I said, the way things are now, there isn't just a whole lot of movement. Things tend to feel the same for them every day. So if there was advice for stagnant kiddos and things, that when that starts to happen, I try and pull them out of whatever that might be, part of their day-to-day routine. Like, so right now, like, don't focus so much on academics, maybe, if that's the thing. So maybe focus on an interest, as opposed to saying, hey, we got to do 6 hours of math. Say, hey, we're going to check in for math for X, Y, and Z amount of time, and then, hey, what would you like to do?
Right. At least for English, I'm trying to give them, because they have their computer work, and then for the paperwork, I'm just trying to give them as many options as possible. Yeah. Like, give them like 10, 15 things, and be like, hey, just do, I don't care if it's writing, I don't care if it's grammar, just do like 2 or 3 things here so we can get some work samples and then go from there. Because like you said, like just being like, hey, diagram this sentence. Like, this is not really the time for that. Unfortunately, it's just not.
Yeah. Because sometimes the way to get them more involved is to involve them in things that they might want to do. Because even outside, even with therapy, sometimes the therapist can indicate that sometimes they even get stuck in therapy. So it doesn't always work, but trying to pull them out of that and give them something else to focus on, whatever that might be.
Luckily, they're still doing a pretty good job with their peers.
Yeah.
For the amount of time they're together, like discuss, they're just together all
24 hours a day. Yeah.
Yeah, because they usually get breaks for like home passes, and then they might be in a different class at school, but now they're grouped by colleges because of COVID. So it's just a lot. There's just a lot coming at them.
Yeah.
And some of them are just kind of on the treadmill of life.
Not making the steps in the direction we want them to go.
Right. All right. So highlight of the week. There's our 5 negative minutes of the week. Shockingly, mine is an IEP meeting. It was on, because Anna was on Zoom. So 2 things I hate, but 2 necessary things I hate. So we had like 10 or 11 people on this Zoom calls for a child that was about to leave, and the child was at the meeting, and he advocated for himself what he wanted his next steps to be, and then everyone, and this rarely happens in IEP meetings, unfortunately, everyone in the IEP meeting was just like very interested in what was best for this child.
Nice.
Everyone let each other talk. Nice. No one was trying to like talk over people or say their way was the right way. Yeah. And this meeting went on for 2 hours, and none of it was wasted. Like, it was all constructive. What are the next steps for this kid? And it didn't go exactly how he wanted, but everyone was so good at like explaining the reasons for stuff. He left the meeting like satisfied.
That's the best outcome that you could ever have. I mean, most kids, most of them don't even want to participate,
right?
Let alone give input that is helpful for them and makes them feel satisfied.
And at the end, he was like, "I get it, but I'm going to show you guys." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What a response! I wish I had more of that." Right. Like, he was like, "I'll show you," right? Because like the thing was like he's going to continue at a private school for another couple months, and then maybe transition to public school. And he's like, "I'll show you guys the next couple months." And I was like, "Wow,
that's more than you can ask for."
I hope you do.
I'm right. I love the determination.
Unless you want me to neg you and motivate you, and then I'll do that. No, you have no chance. But yeah, awesome kids.
No, kudos, man. Good on that. My highlight of the week actually had started with what could have been a struggle. As had a bit of a crisis situation with a young man earlier this week, and he was very escalated. Had several staff trying to help him out and keep him separated from another peer and from the building. And at some point, he got access to an open door, and he and I kind of you know, I was trying to body position myself so that he couldn't come in, and he was trying to force himself in, and in doing so, he, you know, got a hold of me.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. I heard him tell you how small your head was.
Well, I mean, it's genetics, man. I can't do it.
Some of the insults, I'm like,
where did that come from? But yeah, so I mean, he was very upset and aggressive, and we went through that whole situation, and all of that came to an end. And but the highlight of all of that is that this morning he found me in the hallway and came and apologized and said, "Hey, I really want to say I'm sorry for everything that happened and transpired, and I didn't really mean to do all of that. It was not my intention. It was very nice and it felt very genuine because mind you, this happened earlier this week, so his apology didn't come right on top of the crisis, which happens sometimes.
Right.
I very much appreciated the fact that I could tell that he gave it thought. It mattered to him. It's not the first time that he and I have had a conversation about him making progress and focusing on the right thing. So it was a really nice moment for him to, like I said, take the time and the consideration to pick his words wisely. Right. And he really wanted me to know that he felt genuinely bad about it. He wasn't just saying sorry; he felt bad for it.
And I feel like that's harder. Like the longer time goes in between when you do something wrong and when you apologize, it gets harder.
It gets harder.
I've said some in meetings before that I feel like I should apologize to coworkers with. And then a week goes by, and I'm like, oh, it's too late.
So you had your chance.
Yeah, not anything mean, but I should have, I cut that person off by accident, or that wasn't my intention when I said that. Actually, funny one with our amazing chef. Okay. I was telling her on Fridays I was gonna stop bringing lunch because the lunch looks so good, and she thought I meant to make me an extra lunch. But there's just one kid in our class that never eats it. So I didn't have to apologize, but that would be an example. Because at the end she was like, I'll make you. I was like, no, you don't. I was like, God, I look like such a jerk. Make me lunch.
Get my meal.
How do I always do that? Even over text, I was awkward. I don't understand. Yeah. Where's my meal?
But no, so that was my highlight. It was really, like I said, it was great to have that moment with him.
Yeah, that's huge. Anytime the kids apologize to you, that's a massive thing.
Yeah, and it's really great when you can tell that it's genuine. Because I think you've said it before on the show that there are kids that just learn that learn behavior. So they know that they need to say sorry. That's what's expected of them. But they may not necessarily understand why they're saying it or even mean it necessarily in the moment or at the time. Right. So it's always great when you can tell hey, this kid really did, like I said, put some thought into it and really meant everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like this child we're speaking of too.
I was gonna say,
had a really rough week, so that's great that he
I mean, absolutely. I mean, and he and I have had some tough spots. This is his second go around with us, so we've had some tough spots in his short time being back, but we've also had some clarifying conversations at the same time. So I mean, it's definitely one of those cases where I'm very interested to see where he's going and help him get to where he's eventually going to be.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, highlight.
You're still kind of with
us. Foot still literally 1 foot in the door.
1 foot out the door. 1 foot out the door, but 1 foot stuck. All right, so my getting to know you question. What was your favorite record, album, CD, tape, depending on the time?
Oh, I was a tape man. I still love cassettes. I something about the popping it over and flipping it over.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah.
I don't know.
And the patience. Patience.
You had to. Remember you used to have to stick the number 2 pencil in there to wind it all back when it came all out. Yeah. If I had to, I think Illmatic by Nas was one of my first tapes I ever picked up. So I think I'm gonna say, just on nostalgia, and it's a classic.
Right.
But nothing to say against it that way. But probably my favorite tape ever picked up was Nas's Illmatic.
Have you listened to the new one? I heard it's great. Haven't listened
really
to
it.
Good. Okay,
it is really good. It's in between Illmatic and
this one.
And this one, I've always been a fan.
Right.
But this one it's really good. Yeah.
All right, I need to get on it. I'll probably listen to it tonight. I got a lot to do.
You got a lot to do a lot of the time. I recommend it.
All right.
For you, Patrick, do you have a favorite quote?
I do. So I used to hate when coaches would do quotes because it was always the same, some Vince Lombardi, dude, shut up, early bird gets the worm.
Some red
if you work harder, you do better. Oh, great. Yeah, it's But I've become a big quote person lately because
Yeah.
like I've started to like research a lot of different historical figures because I just have so much time now. Like I've started reading a lot,
Yeah.
which I found is kind of dangerous. I'm being serious.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, I think too much. Like, oh man, like I don't. And then and then I start to like hate people I know because I know what they're saying isn't true, which is not good either.
Not a good sign.
But yeah, so I came up across one lately. I can't remember who said it, but it was what was it? Now I gotta think of it. No, it was intelligent people discuss ideas, fools discuss how people should behave.
Nice.
And I think that's just like when I saw it, I was like, this is so like pertinent to what's going on right now.
Right, it's so fitting.
Right,
Yeah.
because a lot of people right now are just, and I'm in no way talking about social justice. That is not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are just they just put stuff out online, or they say stuff to you that's just a negative thing.
Yeah.
And there's no solution.
Yeah.
They're like, did you know that this is going on? And I'm like, well, yeah, but what is saying that do?
What are we doing
like,
about
do you
it?
have a solution?
Right.
Like whether it be work or or whatever, people are just like saying like negative stuff over and over and over again. And again, I'm not talking about the social justice stuff. And it's just like it's more like the COVID stuff and what's going on. Like, oh, this is so hard. And it's like, all right, well, what's the next step? Like, we're adults.
Yeah, because you can only say something sucks for so long
Right.
without like, okay, like, yeah, it sucks. Okay, like, please have that space where you're like, yeah, everybody should have that space where you're like, all right, like, this just is awful. But then, like, at some point, it's like, all right, what are we doing about it?
And I think it's too like who you surround yourself with. Like it's human inclination to just kind of talk trash. Like that's just kind of for some reason that's what we like. But I'm like it's really made me like catch myself this stuff. It's like if you have this many complaints about this person, why are you hanging around them?
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
Like if you keep because I catch myself like telling about people I know like this person has negative energy and it brings me down. It's like, all right, well that's your fault. Like you're choosing to spend your time with this person, so stop telling other people that they're bringing you down. Like you're bringing them down. Like so it's just like I don't know. I really like that quote because it's just like now when I say something negative, I always want to like have a reason for saying it.
Yeah.
Not just spread negativity because there's enough of that going on right now.
No, I think that's great. I think you should blow that one up and definitely decorate the hallways with it.
Yeah, just everywhere, just all over the hallway.
I think it's fitting even to like, especially to here with the kids that we deal with because we're always asking them for solutions. So
Right.
I think it would be great for them to have something that they could see to be like, hey, we're not the only ones saying this, right? Like we're not the only ones giving you this message. Like you can. There's always something that you can do.
Because a lot of them will be like, I hate this kid. And you and I are always like, okay, but you have to be around them. So how are you gonna? So if I'm not doing that, then what am I doing?
Right.
Like, because everyone hates the teacher that shows up like 20 minutes late and then is like, you gotta be on time. Like, it's like, man, you were late. I saw you. So I'm just trying to get better at that kind of stuff. But we got I mean, we can't see it on here, but we got a quote board over here.
Say, yeah, man, it's filling in.
The kids are filling it
quite
up.
nicely. Yeah, no.
I love it. Had to put down the Mal quote. I got a kid who wanted to put Mal up there. Good God. All right, so there is some positivity in this actually. This is what do we call it? The resource of the week.
Yes.
Yes, I'm a little out of practice. All right,
I mean, it's the resource of the month right now.
Yeah, resource of the month.
Because it's been a little while, but
so this is one of the books I just read. Inside Rikers by Jennifer Wynn. It's older, probably 20 years ago, but I just kind of want to do this in like 3 parts, like kind of who are the prisoners in our country, like why this is not a political thing, like this is a huge deficiency in our country, it just is. Yeah. And then the most important part of this book, besides the knowledge, is that this woman actually did some stuff. Because I've tried to read stuff about our prison system before, and it's kind of like that quote I just said. It's just like stat after stat of negativity, and I'm just like, well, I can't. It just doesn't keep my attention if we're not talking about like what can we do, even if it's very far fetched.
Right.
So, like, this is obviously about Rikers Island. Everyone knows what Rikers Island is, but some of the stats that just shocked me. So 2/3 of Rikers inmates are pretrial detainees.
Yeah.
Which is just like
they're not guilty.
Right. They haven't been proven
not
guilty.
Right.
And everyone knows the Khalif Browder story.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in solitary confinement for 2 years for maybe stealing like $20 or whatever worth of goods. Maybe
a backpack.
Yeah, and he might not even have so that stuff happens all the time. And then you can talk about obviously the whole system of bail is absurd.
Yeah.
Because everyone's supposed to be treated equally, and if someone has bail and another person doesn't,
somebody stays, somebody goes.
Right. So that is crazy. The racial disparities. 48 times more likely to be sent to prison a black person compared to a white person for like a marijuana charge, something like that. And then even like bigger problems in our, well, not bigger than race, but like firearms, 8 times greater than those of the 25 other wealthy nations combined. That's how many we have in our country. So this isn't politics. You can't argue. Like another one. 1 out of 4 children in the U.S. live in poverty, and the second highest is Canada, 15%. So we're 10% higher than the nearest country, which is just. And then everyone knows the classic one. We have 5% of the world's population, 25% of the world's prisoners, right? So it's just like these, and like we'll talk about the retention rates too. How like 80% of people go back within the year. So it's like, what are we doing, right? So some of the things about how we could actually help people in the population that's going to Rikers: 30% homeless, 25% have been treated for mental illness, 80% have a history of substance abuse, and 75% return to Rikers within the year. And then the other one is twice as many psychotic inmates in prison in our country than mental health facilities. So like what? So like, what is going on?
So our demographics of the kids,
right? And so that
it sounds like it's outlining our kids and it's outlining the ACEs scores. It's just like
right. And we're not going into a prison podcast. I said this because 2 episodes ago we talked about our kids' long-term outcomes.
Yeah.
And our kids have mental illness. Yeah. And our kids come from impoverished areas, and our kids would not have the money for bail.
Yep.
100% would not.
No. Nope.
So this all ties in together. And so even if you're not an empathetic person and don't care about any of these people, like I'm just saying, I mean, there are people out there like, so the money issue, Rikers cost taxpayers in New York $830 million a year, which is $68,000 per prisoner.
Right.
All right. Sending these people to a drug treatment facility, which is what most countries do, that if it's non-violent crime, so mental illness or a drug facility, or a drug crime, it costs $17,000. So on my calculations, that's $51,000 cheaper per person. If you sent them to a mental health facility or a drug rehab facility, depending on what. Like if you have a mental illness and you take your clothes off on a public bus, you should not go to jail. No. Like that doesn't make sense.
Even on a cost-effective basis, right. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
And if you're addicted to crack and you or whatever, or heroin or whatever, and you stole a stereo or to feed your habit, you shouldn't go to jail. That's not that doesn't make sense. Yeah. Right? And like I guess I've always known this stuff, but like the more I read about it, it's just like it drives me insane. And it drives me insane that people try to make it political, because in no way is it political, no matter what your party is.
Yeah, whatever side you're on.
So the positive part is this woman, which I really respect her because she wrote the book, but she was also participating in the program. And so students from Rikers that go to a community college have a 50% higher retention rate than average students. So they're more likely to stay in if they've been to jail. And then if they have 2 years of college, they have a 10% rearrest rate compared to the national average of 60. So they reduce their rate of rearrest by 500%.
Jeez.
And then 70% of inmates who finish a 12 to 18 month drug program test free of drugs 5 years later. So these programs work. Right. Is the point.
Right. It's not.
But if you don't do anything, and like in Rikers, they give a lot of the people that are heroin addicts, they give them methadone the whole time they're there. So then, and this was absolutely unbelievable. They dropped them off at 5 a.m. so no one can see them from a bus in New York City, and they give them $5 of tokens. Wow. And so they're addicted to methadone. Right. They have no money. Right. And they have no means of transportation. They have one ride. So what do you think?
What do you think is going to happen right now?
How are they going to get money? Right. They're addicted to drugs. They're going to steal. They're going to break a law, and then they're back in prison. So like, what? It's just like, and I know a lot of people already know this. So if I'm, going, I mean, I know a lot of people know this, but a lot of people don't. Right. So like, so it's just like, I don't know what. Like, I know the solution is to get involved and. But it's just such a massive problem in our country. It's just kind of depressing.
No, I mean, but it also demonstrates the connections that we may not even recognize that are there, right? Like it gives you some understanding of like how the school to prison pipeline happens, right? Because you have kids that that we work with, and we can see just how they become trapped in these systems, just based on the product of their life, right? So no, it's. Like you said, for people who don't know or may not see exactly how they might be connected to it, it's always.
I guess I just felt dumb talking about it because at our job, everyone kind of, you should at least be researching this stuff. Right. But a lot of people don't. Like you see a homeless person, like I've talked about, and you start laughing. Like, it's not funny.
Yeah. That like you have this thought or understanding that people all understand what you understand, and completely forget that they felt like they don't.
Right. And then 4 years ago, I understood none of this, and wasn't interested in it.
Right.
Like it wasn't like I hated people that went to jail. I just didn't have any interest in educating myself, which is terrible.
Right.
But I'm not preaching because I didn't do any of this until I started working here.
Yeah.
But like we have kids who we'll have kids that leave here and they'll get an apartment or whatever, and then they get kicked out of their apartment and they're mentally ill and then they're homeless and then they get arrested. And we hear about it.
And then cycle happens all
right. And then they're gonna get out of jail and have no money and they're gonna steal something and they're gonna go back to jail.
Exactly.
When they need continued help
and services.
So I hope that wasn't too depressing, but
I mean, we made it through.
Yeah.
We got on the other side.
We're
ending on a high note.
Yeah, we'll end on a feel good story.
This student actually is the student from Patrick's earlier story about the IEP meeting. So it's great to see the transition that he's on his way to making, the progress that he has made since being here. I mean, he still is one of those kids who has some time to go. He's still very young, and even his time here, there was still room for him to make some more progress. But definitely made strides from when he got here. He was one of the his behaviors was just elopement. So like he would and he was very not verbal about it. Not that he was nonverbal, but like he would just get up in the middle of class and then next thing you know he's on the main street, and wouldn't say a word to anybody about what happened, what's wrong with him, or where he's going. He was just out. So it was really positive to see when those behaviors kind of started to subside and to see him start engaging with peers more, because he was also very opinionated, might be right. He was very sure of his own opinions and thoughts.
But like you said, he wouldn't tell you.
Right.
Like he doesn't, like he's just not a kid right now. And he got better at this, but still like he's just not a kid that's gonna sit down and just do like a worksheet on like nouns, right?
Right.
But he wouldn't tell me that.
Right.
So I was trying to give him something simple his first day and he just ball it up and throw it on the floor. And then I would say something like, "Hey, bud, do you want something else?" And then, like you said, he would just walk out.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that didn't go well.
And his interactions with peers and staff could be very volatile when he first got here. Lots of explicitives, and he was very sure about telling you where to go and how to get there.
And I think he had some bad experiences at his previous placement, so he hated almost all adults.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, just like, you're just trying to, you're just trying to get. And I was like, dude, I'm not trying to do anything.
No,
I'm trying to figure out your name and how it can go from here.
Right.
But his improvements were like with peers, he started actually conversing.
Yes. Yeah.
And with staff, like he actually started telling us what was wrong. At least if he had a problem with something you were doing.
Yeah. I mean, if he was very much one of those kids where you had to find the right avenue to speak to him. Like you had to speak how he. It sounds weird, but you had to speak Johnny language, you had to navigate what he's saying to you, and then return the conversation in a way that he understands in the way that's good for him. And if it wasn't, he'd cut it off in a second. The conversation is over. Yeah. But I agree. He did get to the point where he would open up. He would tell me okay, and he would tell us well, this happened. Even if it was raw and ugly, he'd be like, well, this person did this, and that's why I did this. Before, it was none of that. He would just, like I said, he would either tell you to go where you can go, or he would just walk out the front door. Yeah,
and it's a great example of I don't know what the right term is, but giving our kids control of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You would not do that with a traditional kid, but with our kids you have to. So if he's even if he's like, I hate Aaron. Aaron's a piece of shit or whatever. I'd be like, yeah, sometimes Aaron can, just and I didn't mean it,
right?
But you had to more when he would say I hate adults. I'd be like, yeah, some adults are awful. You just have to say that, which probably you wouldn't say to a normal kid.
But to get to that next step,
right? Because you had, like you said, if you didn't acknowledge what he was saying,
he wouldn't continue the conversation.
Yeah, it was over.
It's over. But he has definitely made great strides and great progress, and like Patrick said earlier about how he was able to advocate for himself in a big setting as an IEP. It's some adults, even myself included, have tough times speaking in those kind of forums. So for him to be able to have enough confidence within himself to advocate for what he wants and what he feels like he can accomplish is great. And my position right now, my transition actually puts me in a really good spot with him because I'm actually watching him discharge today, but I'm actually welcoming him into the program that I'm transitioning to on Monday. So I'm seeing him out the door on Friday and opening the door on Monday. So I'll be able to check on him and see him as he makes his transition to the other side of the day program for us.
Yeah, and he when he left, he did these really heartfelt goodbyes, which is I know that didn't happen at his last placement.
Right.
Like with his peers, there's no way.
There's no way.
And he still had his bickering with his peers, but I think they genuinely all liked him, and he liked all of them, which is just if you would have told me that when he first got here, I would think there's no chance.
Yeah, because what's crazy is
You're just swinging on everybody.
what's you know what I just thought about? What's crazy is that him and his peer that he was sitting next to and he bonded with since they came over here.
Yeah.
You know they fought earlier.
Right. Yeah.
I completely forgot that they had gotten into a fist fight. So the two of them are now close friends, and so it just speaks to his ability to repair.
Yeah, he's and that's great. He's kind of got I think he's got a really good situation for him right now. He's got a little step down, and then hopefully next year the plan is for him to return to the traditional school setting, which is the goal for most of our kids.
All of our kids,
all of our kids.
So yeah, kudos on that, man. Can't wait to hear and be involved to see where that goes.
Yeah, man, that was a longer one.
Yeah,
got kind of carried away with the.
No, I mean I could feel your energy. It was good.
I mean, like I said, man, when I read, it's dangerous. But I start spouting off stats. They're shut up. We're at a party, man. Socially distance party.
Socially distance.
No one cares.
I can't hear you from.
No, and I know, like I said, I know a lot of people already know that stuff, but I certainly. Before I started working here, it was just something you might hear in passing on the news, and I just didn't. So I just wanted to.
No, like I said, I'm here for it, man. I think there's never a time where knowledge cannot be spread. I mean, even if it goes on one ear, it's more than enough. So
yeah, but it's just we offer the solutions,
yes.
Not just we're all screwed. I can't. I'm just okay. Should I give up?
Is that we done?
I don't know what we're done. I don't know. I mean, I guess. We'll see, I guess.
We'll see. Well, Patrick, you got anything else?
No.
All right. Nice. Me neither. So, as always, I've enjoyed our conversation. Hope you guys have enjoyed listening. We look forward to you guys listening next week. Not next month. Next week.
Next week.